What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Proteus Performance Podcast. I am your host, Head of Human Performance and Sports Science, Will Waterman. This is the podcast where we feature our customers, their businesses, who they train, and how they train them. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Today, we have a really cool guest for you. Her name is Pamela Gold. Pam Gold is a founder of Portal, formerly Hacked Fitness. It was New York City's first biohacking studio, and she's an expert in the minimally effective dose model of fitness. And she integrated physical, mental, energetic fitness, and biohacking into her business. It's an awesome episode where she talks a lot more deeply into how she integrates all those things into her business model. It's really cool. And Portal has 2 locations in New York City, as well as online courses, 12-week programs. And Pam, a little bit about her background. She grew up on her family farm in upstate New York. She then graduated from Yale and entered the business world in New York City, where she was the point person on an IPO at the age of 24. Pam then spent 4 years in the fashion business as a right-hand designer entrepreneur at the right-hand designer entrepreneur Josie Natori, then left the workplace to start a family. She co-founded during that time the West Village Parents, and after struggling with weight postpartum, went on to pursue her passion for fitness and wellness. She goes into that history a little bit in the episode, and it's really cool. And it was through that pursuit that she discovered yoga, which connected her to love of philosophy, science, psychology, and wellness, and started her meditation practice, which ultimately unlocked an entirely new flow of wisdom and inspiration for her. She wrote a book called Find More Strength, 5 Pillars to Unlocking Unlimited Power and Happiness in 2 weeks, and founded a coaching business and created Peace Power Parenting, an online course to support conscious parenting. In 2018 is when she was inspired to open Hack Fitness to share that biohacking fitness technology. And then she was, unfortunately forced to close that during the pandemic, but rebranded it to Portal and pivoted to a virtual model, at least partially, launching a holistic fitness and well-being optimization coaching app. And now she reopened Portal, and it's about to expand currently, and she is expanding her New York City presence. And Pam is due to release her forthcoming book, Timeless in Less Time, 12 Weeks Optimizing Fitness for Life, in fall of this year. Just someone who's just seriously a ball of energy, so positive. I love the topics in this conversation. If your business is considering getting a Proteus and you do anything around that minimum effective dose, we talk about whether or not we like the term biohacking or not. You do anything around that minimum effective dose, or you really want to talk about how Proteus can fit into this more holistic approach to fitness, how it will fit in with people that are trying to not just look at physical well-being, but mental well-being, spiritual well-being. This is the episode for you. She talks about her business model as well, so you can get an idea about how that will all fit into a business like this. So without further ado, here's Pamela Gold. Okay, welcome to the Proteus Performance Podcast, Pamela Gold. How are you?
I am super well. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for joining us for this. It's one of those things. You've been affiliated and worked with us for a long time. I know that you kind of know or have known Sam for a real long time. And just for those listening, Sam's our CEO and founder, Sam Miller. So maybe we start with this, kind of what was your first connection with us? I want to hear about your background as well, but how did you first hear about us?
So when I first opened up Hacked in 2018, I had the benefit of kind of a founding consultant named Mark Cohen. Mark, super dialed in to the latest and greatest in all things fitness. And I don't know if he knew Sam or how he knew of Proteus, but very early on, he said, Pam, you got to come out to Long Island City and check this out, because whether you have space for it or not, whether it's the right time or not, I know you're going to love this. And so Mark and I had a field trip out to the Long Island City facility. Sam was there. One of your engineers was there, and I got to play. And I was like a kid on Christmas morning.
That's awesome. So that was probably probably like what, like 2018 or something like that, or
It's
maybe
like
even
late
before that.
2018. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Maybe
cool.
early 2019, like maybe like
Right,
January,
right.
but early. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Well, that's awesome. So, that's definitely, as far as one of someone who's been working with us, that's definitely on the long side, since we really started kind of coming out with those the machines that like the one that you have in your facility. We only came out with that one, the 2.0, in April of 2021. So you had the machine before that, I think, the
Yeah.
original machine. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, actually, so let's talk about this. What first got you into training? I want kind of everyone to hear about your business and everything, but let's
Sure.
start with you. How did you first get into training?
Well, I think, first of all, I grew up on a farm and I was the
I didn't
youngest
know
and the only girl.
that.
So
Okay.
in order to maintain any sense of, self-esteem and authentic connection and belonging, I needed to be active and I needed to keep up with the boys. So I was always pretty physically active and, just sporty, I guess, in that way.
Yeah.
And, fast forward 25 years or so when I became a mom and basically had lost myself when I first became a mom, regained all the pregnancy weight. And it's like, what happened to me? I don't even know what way is up. But I had kind of my own fitness journey where I got to figure out all the things that I was missing and get myself back to being physically fit. And so I, dialed in my nutrition, dialed in my workout routines, and eventually went to yoga school and got super into meditation. So very much kind of the mind, body, spirit, fitness stuff. But I basically became a trainer just to help other moms, because back then people were
Oh,
asking me to help them. And I was just helping people for free and for fun, because how awesome is that? And then one of my girlfriends insisted on paying me. And she's like, well, all right, well, maybe I should, I guess, maybe make a business out of this, which is a great part-time gig when your kids are super little.
yeah.
And so I did that for a bunch of years where I was a personal trainer, helping mostly other moms get in shape. And then I went back to work running basically it was like a food and diet, behavioral therapy based food and weight clinic. And
Oh,
in that, when I ran that business, I suddenly went from having, 4 hours a day to work out to being lucky if I had 20 minutes to
oh
work
man.
out. And so I then started getting really into efficient fitness, which is what
Mm,
led to the founding of Hacked, now Portal,
I
back in
see.
2018. So it's being a busy mom. I was like, I only have 20 minutes. How am I
How are
gonna
you going to
stay
get
in
that good
shape?
workout?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's okay. That totally makes sense, because I know a lot of the interventions and things that you use, they are around all, efficiency. So tell us a little bit about the business and the kind of things that you offer.
Sure. So I really started Hacked again. Now it's called Portal, but it was all around the workout side. And so I'm sure you're familiar with the ARX, the adaptive
Hmm.
resistance exercise, which is that super slow, super heavy
Hmm.
workout trainer, computerized. It's great for stability and strength. And I
Hmm.
started training on that machine in 2017. And that's really what kind of lit the fire under me to start this business, because I knew I wasn't the only other one, in the city that wanted access to this machine. And then I got really into the recovery side of things, and also how else on the fitness side, can we bring this efficient computerized
Hmm.
fitness, to market, because there really isn't, a business that offers this stuff in New York
Right.
City. And so, it really started around the ARX and the Carol bike, which gives you the
Yep.
equivalent of a 45-minute jog in under 9 minutes. And then all the recovery stuff, I really just started to play with the recovery stuff when I opened up Hacked, because I didn't have a lot of personal experience with it. And so as over the years, again, we opened in 2018 through 2019, 2020, before COVID, I really just got to play
Yeah.
and figure out the business model around kind of this really efficient workout, and
Workout.
then really supportive recovery. All this, latest cutting edge tech and using data to optimize. And so Proteus slides right in there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I know, I think I mentioned this before, but I trained on an ARX back when I lived in San Francisco for about a year and a half. Loved it. They had a Carol bike as well, so I did that too. Although I'm a cyclist, so I didn't spend as much time on the Carol bike. I did more of
Sure.
my own cycling. But really cool piece of technology and super complementary to Proteus. I definitely want to talk about that a little bit more. But
Mhm.
um, let's talk a little bit more about your business model. So like, how does it work? If someone comes in to see you, are they buying packages, number of sessions? How does that work?
So there's two wings on the bird, right? One wing on the bird is we want to keep it really flexible to
Yeah.
meet people wherever they are. And, if someone's just in New York for the day, they can come into Portal. Or if someone, wants a reoccurring membership, right? So we do offer a really flexible kind of offering in terms of, memberships and a la carte day passes, that kind of thing. The other wing on the bird is trying to keep it simple because if you give
Yep.
people too many options, their eyes kind of glaze over.
Yep.
So those are the two wings on the bird that we're kind of always looking to balance between. But
Yeah.
we do offer a pretty wide array of options for how to use us. But our best option is a day pass where you can come in and spend up to 3 hours with us. You'll get a personal training session on either the ARX or the Proteus, and then you can take another 2.5 hours of doing whatever recovery that you want for
Ooh.
one low price of $149.
Hey, that's
It
actually a
is
pretty good deal.
It's an astounding deal. And as a
Yeah.
small business getting back open after COVID, we really do want to, give people an offer so that they can't say no, and they just keep coming back,
Yeah.
get the
That's
benefit of it.
that's really cool. And what are the types of clients that come in, and like, who are you seeing? Like, what's the typical, patron at
Yeah.
Portal?
So I really kind of have identified there's 3 buckets of people. And I don't know if you're familiar with yoga and Ayurveda, that there are these 3 elements that we all have, the Pitta, the Kapha, and the Vata. So the
Okay.
Pitta at Portal, we call the athlete. Those are the people that are really fiery, that want the most
Mm.
intense experience possible. They're very achievement driven. They go really hard. That's me. Probably not surprising to you that I'm 100% Pitta.
Yeah.
And I really thought that when I opened up the business, that's who I was opening up the business for. People that
Yeah.
really wanted this high intensity peak performance experience around fitness, right? Because
Hmm. I
clearly
mean,
we want that.
I guess I've had Pitta type workouts on ARX and Proteus, so I could see how that could.
Yeah.
I'm probably
Well,
that type. Yeah.
Well, you're also very Vata, which is,
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with Vata, but we call it the
No.
alchemist at
Okay.
Portal, someone who's creative, a trailblazer, visionary.
Oh.
And so you also are very, very alchemistic. And
Oh.
so the alchemist is the early adopter, someone who is really excited about the latest technology, kind of new experiences, a better way to do things. They're really into the creativity and understanding piece of it. They like to flow and try new things.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people that come in that are really excited about the fact that we offer this latest and greatest technology on the workout and the recovery side and optimization side. So good number of alchemist
Oh,
clients.
that's
And
cool.
then my biggest surprise and the I guess customer segment that's perhaps nearest and dearest to my heart are the people that are more kapha, and in the Ayurvedic world, what we call them are healers. And they're people that maybe, really put other people before them, like most loving people put other people
Hmm.
before them. But the healers are people that really care about nurturing. And there are also people that oftentimes haven't been that into fitness and maybe don't feel as welcome in traditional fitness facilities. They don't
Mm.
really like to work out. They maybe aren't really comfortable being uncomfortable in their bodies. They'd rather not work out. But they're mature enough at this point in their lives to know that they
Yeah.
have to take care of their bodies, or we're just not going to have the longevity and the health span that we all want to have. And so they're really excited. One, that we don't judge anybody. We don't care what you look like. We don't care what your background is. We're here to meet you exactly where you are, care about you, and support you in attaining your goals. And you can get the most efficient, kind of quickest in and out workout
Right.
possible. So that's kind of the third bucket of our clients that are like, this is the best thing ever because they can work out 20 minutes and check the box.
It's kind of like that idea of the minimum effective dose, right? Like they can
Yes.
get that minimum effective dose and get that nice, stimulus, and then kind of continue on with their day. And
Yeah.
I love that. And like you said, that it sounds like that was kind of this almost the start of your journey, right? You started as someone needing 20, well, not the start, I guess. You got to a point
Middle.
where you had the 20 minutes,
The
right?
middle part of, yeah. Well, two
Yeah.
parts of that. Like there was a period where I was so out of shape that I didn't feel comfortable going to the gym. I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
I was
Mm-hmm.
confused. I was like, I don't even know what happened to me. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know where to start. And I did end up kind of hiring a trainer But the trainer wasn't as knowledgeable as really he should have been. He was supposedly postnatal certified, but there's a lot of stuff after you have babies that you need to be more aware of, especially in the abdominal workout kind of progressions. And so, there was a period of time where I didn't really feel comfortable walking into most fitness facilities. And I was just kind of overwhelmed and really needed a lot of help. And judgment was not helpful. Like feeling like people judged me for maybe being 40 or 50 pounds heavier than I am now. Like that doesn't feel good. So we want to have a community that doesn't judge us. And then, like you said, wanting efficiency. I mean, all of us on some level, unless you're someone who is still merging the mental health aspect of fitness with kind of the physical health aspect of fitness, where you just feel so good going to this 60-minute, Soul Cycle class, right? Which is great. I love, hey, tell me again why we're here and get my soul all lit up. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So like, or maybe going for an hour long, like you're a cyclist, maybe you like to go for like longer, 20 mile, and you just feel amazing. You're looking out at the vista, and it's just, it's satiating so many aspects of your being. It's not just about the physical workout, right?
Yep.
So there are people that are still using fitness for that. But what I say to all those people, one, there are other ways to meet your mental health and kind of spiritual health goals. And if you're going to put those longer workouts in, you need to make sure you're doing the supportive work to make sure you don't get injured doing these other longer,
becoming too specialized in a way, right?
Or overtraining.
Or overtrained. Yeah.
Right. Not realizing that you're not giving your body enough recovery,
right?
That you're not giving your body enough support on the strength side to then go and do explosive things. Like, I mean, I don't know how old you are. I can't tell anybody's age.
37.
Anymore.
37.
Okay. I was like, I think you're younger than me, right? So I'm almost 10 years older than you. But like my contemporaries, so many of my contemporaries have gotten injured, playing basketball or boxing or cycling or at a Soul Cycle class or whatever. And it's like, I'm not knocking any of those awesome activities, which are so fun. We just need to make sure that we're doing the weekly and monthly kind of upkeep that we can do that without getting injured.
Love it. And you provide that space where you can do that efficiently, and you have all these different kind of, interventions to be able to do that, which is really cool. And I really like
assessments too.
Assessments. Oh yeah. Right.
Because it's data driven. So you can see what your power level's at, and you can see what your strength level's at, right? Like you can see it, and they're like, I'm off balance. Like my right side, as we learned from the Proteus, my right, medicine ball scoop toss is significantly stronger than my left. And I want to make sure that if I'm out there playing tennis, that I'm equal on both sides of rotation. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's awesome. Well, I have a question now. This, some people would consider this this term, but then I think some people find this term to be a 4-letter word. Do you consider this biohacking, as I use air quotes that people can see me, or do you not?
I love that question, because to me, the definition of biohacking is simply using the latest technology, data, protocols to get better results. And I have a really good friend named Josh Holland, who I was on his podcast recently, and we were having this exact conversation. And he said, like, literally, if you turn your light switch on and you're using, electricity to like hack the fact that it's dark and you can see, that's biohacking. Like it's kind of silly to say.
I like that.
It's like this, it's, terms, there's like this faddish kind of, sensibility around the term. It doesn't need to be like that. It's just simply using your own personal experience, trial and error, as much data optimization as possible, technical optimization as possible, tech and all the aspects that we have at our disposal, right? Just use everything that we can to get the best results possible. That's all biohacking is. So yes, I do say that we are New York City's first biohacking fitness studio. And we changed the name from hacked, partly because there is such a negative connotation around biohacking and hacking in general, because a hack oftentimes, it seems like someone loses. Like you're getting around something or you're cheating.
Yeah,
and
you're cheating. Yeah.
You might get there, but it's at the expense of something else. And that's actually not what biohacking is. Biohacking has to be holistic. It has to be physical, mental, and energetic, because once you start going down the biohacking rabbit hole, you very quickly get into your mental fitness. And then once you're in your mental fitness, you realize that there's something more subtle underneath that, which we could call spiritual fitness, or we could call energetic fitness, like we do at Portal. And you realize you can measure this stuff and you can hack it. But at the end of the day, if you're hacking love, you got to love yourself and you got to love everybody else. We're all connected. We're all in this together. So it all leads back to love. And that's like, unless love is a hack. All
I
right.
love that.
Okay.
You have, I just feel like I got enlightened by talking to you about this term.
Well, love is the ultimate hack. We can put that
that's
quote.
great. I really love that this conversation. That's awesome. So that's such a cool perspective. So now I feel almost like, silly in some way, but like, how do you put that together when an individual comes in?
Yeah.
How does that start? Like, do you start with just lots of tests and is it kind of also assessing like what you obviously have to take into account what they want to accomplish, but how do you balance all that and then nudge them into
got it down to a science, Will. And I literally right before this podcast, I had a consult. And one of the things that happened during COVID when we had to be closed is I got to work on all these systems. And so it's totally systematized. It's totally down to a science. We start by asking people some really quick assessment questions around the 5 pillars of fitness. So physical, mental, nutritional, sleep, and communal. And there's 3 questions that you're going to basically self-identify with either level 1, level 2, or level 3. Level 1 is stability. So you could be stability level in the physical, fitness pillar where you're working on consistently doing full body movement patterns, with ease, without pain, without fear, right? That's the stability level. Strength is you can do full body movement patterns without fear, without pain, while holding some serious weight. Power is you can do that explosively, right? So the physical fitness pillar, it's really easy to kind of self-assess stability, strength, or power. But there's equal statements for the mental fitness, the nutritional, the sleep, and the communal. So right out of the gate, I have people self-assess the 5 pillars if they're at the stability, strength, or power level in each pillar. And then I ask them, what's their top goal, right? Which pillar is your top goal? And then I'm also asking them willingness questions. So when it comes to behavioral change, it's really important that we meet people where they are and we don't ask too much of them. So I ask people to self-assess how willing they are to talk about each pillar and how willing they are to get uncomfortable and do some work in each pillar.
Right.
So then I get that before I even have a consult with someone. I'd be like, okay, they don't even want to talk about the food yet. Okay, no problem. Eventually, of course, we're going to have to talk about the food. We're going to talk about efficiency and longevity and all those things. But if you're not ready, you're not ready. That's cool. We'll do the work in the mental and the communal. Now, if someone comes to me and they only want to talk about physical fitness and they don't want to talk about mental, they don't want to talk about sleep, nutrition, or communal, that's fine. We'll still work with you. And I'm going to tell you right out of the gate that we're not going to be able to optimize until we're ready and we have behavioral change, knowledge, so we know how to plant the seeds and get you ready to start talking about breath work, to start talking about meditation, start talking about food, start talking about sleep. But we're not going to push it until you tell me that you're ready. All right, Pam. All right. I've had this happen so many times, Will. People say, oh, I only want to do the physical stuff, Pam. You only work out 20 minutes a week? Yep, I only work out 20 minutes a week. Okay, I want that, Pam. I'm like, okay. After like a couple of weeks, it's just always the case. After a couple of weeks, they'll pull me aside. I'm like, Pam, so what else do you do? If this is all you do for the physical, what else do you do? Because I'm like an Energizer bunny, right? Like,
totally.
Like, constantly giggling.
Yeah, you definitely
like,
have you're a good advertisement.
Well, I better be. Otherwise, what am I selling, right?
Yeah, totally.
A demonstration that this does indeed work. But yeah, I mean, eventually we have to look at these other pillars because we're not going to get sustainable results. And if you're 20, you can get away with stuff that when you're 30, it's kind of on the edge. Once you're in your late 40s and then going in your 50s, you can't sustain these kind of behaviors. And
totally. I mean, you even see that with even in the NBA and professional athletes now, even they're starting to recognize it. I think that's why these athletes that start to pay attention to that, when they're in their 20s, when they're in their early 30s, they're having these just super long careers because they have the resources, but also the education, they've been open to this and they're able to actually, do these interventions, get more sleep, balance the mental health and all these other aspects. So I think that's really, really cool. And I love hearing this, you talking about this holistic approach. It's definitely something, at least today, we haven't had really anyone talk about, trying to bring all of this together. So I really appreciate that. So I guess the kind of question would be, it sounds like, and tell me if I'm wrong, but Proteus would probably fit into that strength, stability kind of pillar
Power.
in
Yeah.
power, right? So
Mhm.
what are you doing for those either assessments and then also for like the workouts with
Yeah.
Proteus?
Yeah. So we do always start, full disclosure, we always start on the ARX.
Mhm.
Because when you're asking someone to do a static hold, you're asking someone to move
Yeah.
super, super slow through a range of motion, you can start to identify instabilities, right?
Yep.
Right out of the gate, that maybe certain muscles aren't firing, they're having trouble keeping the right shoulder down or whatever.
Mhm.
And you want to get people to make sure that we have the stability level before we go too hard on the Proteus. Now, we certainly, I love the Proteus, like the
Yeah.
arm care workout, you just like 1 pound on and you're
Yeah.
doing the rotation, right? You just,
Yeah.
because that, we all need that, because
Uh-huh.
life is dynamic. So
Yeah.
just working out on the ARX isn't enough, right? We
Right.
need to be doing the care for the dynamic motions that life is
Right.
asking for us. So
Right.
when we first have someone on the Proteus, we take first, of course, we explain the machine and get people comfortable, because it's so different. You can't imagine, for
Right.
those of you who perhaps haven't used it yet,
Yeah.
hopefully you have, but
Yeah.
it's, you can say, oh, it's like you're moving through water, and, but it's really hard to imagine
Mm-hmm.
until you do it.
Do you
So,
feel it?
we explain the three, freestyle, workout, and performance, and that each one has its benefits and each one has its trade-off. And,
Mm-hmm.
you move people through all three. It depends on what someone's goal is and what their motivation is. Depending on that is how we kind of fine tune the first session. If
I see.
someone is already kind of at the power level, we'll just give them the power report,
Got
assessment
it.
right out of the gate,
Right.
because they'll be excited to see all of that data and it'll motivate them. And that's
Yeah.
what we
Talk
want to
about
work.
that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like how do you use the data to motivate, and not just Proteus, but even other technologies? Cause I know there's definitely some people that they see the data and they're like, it's overwhelming. Some
Sure.
people, they see it and they're like, oh man, I want to beat that. Are you just meeting that with each client, or how do you
Yeah,
approach that side of it?
totally. It's such a personality specific feeling that people have,
Yeah.
a reaction or response that people have to data. And I'm sure you're familiar with the worrier versus warrior kind
Oh,
of gene, the CMOT gene, where, some, like, we literally are genetically predisposed to either be more of a worrier or more of a warrior. So someone who's more of a
okay.
warrior is gonna be like, and they're gonna want,
Yeah.
also very common. Well, Pam, what are your numbers? Did I beat you? Like that kind of
They
thing.
get competitive. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that's
Yeah.
great, because if
Yeah.
you are someone who is motivated by competition, even if it's just you against you, then we're going to use that to our full advantage. But literally half of our clients, the data can be overwhelming. And
Mhm.
so we're going to tread lightly, with the data. And we're
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
explain that we're going to use all of this for good. Now,
Mhm.
evil is just live spelled backwards. So it's just the opposite polarity. I don't know if you ever heard that.
I have
It is
not heard that. I
true.
love that.
Evil is just live spelled backwards. So, we make the joke that we're just going to use everything for good. So if we feel like the data is stressing us out and is actually feeling like it's constricting our heart, we're not as
Mm.
excited to go
Yeah.
and work out because we're like concerned about the data. We just cover up the data and say, you know what, once a month or once every 12 weeks, we'll review, and or our trainers are trained to find the positives and focus on the positives.
Right.
So find that, because we all have the negativity bias where we focus on the negatives and remember the
Right.
negative more. And so we really work with our clients to stay focused on the positives. Be like, hey, look, you just had a 15% increase on that, your personal best.
Ah, I
And
see.
so
Okay.
even if someone's more of a worrier, if we're doing the performance assessment, mode on the Proteus, you get to have that gamification of your personal
Right.
best. There's
And you
going to
can
be at least
always,
one personal best.
right. Yeah. 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 That is
Although
nice, especially
sometimes
the
it's
first
like you
couple
showed up.
times you get on there, right? The first few times,
Totally.
as you always get some, but yeah, that's interesting. And I guess you could always, for the warrior, you could like put the data filters to like compare them to their exact, person, other
Totally.
people that are same age, weight, sex, like all this to like really motivate them, or even compare themselves to, something that they quote unquote would
Want to
want to be,
aspire.
like a
Yeah.
professional athlete or something.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, the warrior, you can focus on these other aspects. That's a really interesting perspective. And it's so cool that you're trying to take all that in and individualize it. You know, as a physical therapist, I always found that being one part of the art of treatment, right? Is trying to meet patients where they are, or trying to take in their background and what motivates them. So you doing that on the fitness side, bringing technology to it is really, really cool.
And it goes right back to that energetic fitness level. And there is an order of operations. Most people are very focused on the physical because that's what we can see and we can make sense of. And that was my own fitness journey. You know, part of me, like losing myself and getting myself back into shape. I got into shape. Then I was like, this didn't solve all my life problems. And meditation eventually, you know, going deeper is what definitely helped me, you know, be who and how I am now. But it's the same thing when we're talking about data on the workout side. We're using all of this to inspire people, so people feel connected to passion and joy, right? Like if they feel connected to passion and joy, they're going to get better results out of everything they do, and including their workout. And so we're always really fine tuning, because any given day, someone could be having a rougher day. And it's like, you know what, we're not even going to look at the data today. Today, we're celebrating that you showed the F up, you know, some days it's like you just showed up. Yeah. So
that is, I would argue, and that's been said on some of the other episodes here, is that consistency is probably the most important thing anyway, you know, for a lot of people. And whether or not you're, you know, the structure is perfect every time, and like you have the exact right weight, the exact right range of motion and all this, just working on it and being consistent can really be the biggest win, you know. And some of the most fit people and, I think happy and motivated people I know are the ones that are consistent in their practice, whether or not it's, you know, meditation or physical fitness or whatever. It's that consistency and showing up that's always a big part of it.
And then you look at the trends, you know, whether you're looking at your body composition or you're looking at your power or strength or whatever, you look at the trends over time. You know that nothing in life is just a straight linear progression. You know, you're up, then you're down, you know, 8 steps up, 2 steps back. It's all over the place. But over time, you're looking for those trends. And consistency gets trends. Consistency.
Then that's awesome. It's something that, you know, I know our software shows trends, and these, you know, kind of history and everything. But it's even something that we're working on improving over time, is making it, surfacing those things even to a higher level, keeping people having to dig. So, for those that hear this now, know that everything Pam's talking about, we're going to try to be making these things even easier to find in the software, even easier to dig into. And that's part of why it's kind of our product, at least it's an evolving product, right? It's not, you've seen it certainly go through a lot of changes.
Yeah. But that's one of the things I love about you guys. You know, you've done so much in the last 2 years to take the product to an entirely different level in terms of the value proposition of how, you know, it really, really can make someone's fitness journey so much more fun, so much more effective. Like you guys have just done a great job. And, you know, similar, I mean, whether you love Oura Ring or not, I'm a huge Oura Ring, you know, fan for, I don't know, like 5 years now. But I always think of the Oura Ring interface, like the app. They make it super, super easy for us to see, like, how do we sleep? Are we ready or not? You know, what's our activity? Make it really easy. And I see you guys going in a very similar direction. And maybe one day the Proteus and the Oura will link up and there'll be APIs. So the work that I do on the Proteus will automatically show up in my Oura.
I don't want to overpromise anything, but I will tell you that API work and integrations is in the future plan. But I don't want to say to what products and all that yet, but it is definitely.
Maybe the portal app will be able to sync and pull it right in.
Hey, I can't, I can't say no. I can't say it won't happen. I can't say it will yet, but I love it. Well, I think it'd be fun to take you into, what we call the Proteus power questions, which is kind of like our lightning round. Okay. All right. So get ready. I think you're going to nail these. These will be easy for you. So, first one, what is the biggest gimmick you've seen in your industry in the last few years?
Oh my Lord. Well, recently, I mean, And I think you know me well enough to know I always like to be positive, right?
Sure.
I always try to find
Yeah.
a positive way of saying things.
Putting you
You
on the
just
spot.
asked me a straight up negative question. So like, you know what it is? It's the fear-based advertisements. Let's just say it like that. Like
That's great.
fear-based advertisements. Like there's a place that opened up recently that has a lot of the same recovery stuff that we have,
Mhm.
but their entire marketing campaign is about weight loss and losing inches, and it's all around, it's like the very fear-based advertisement around like, you're not good enough. You're
Yeah.
not good enough as you
As
are.
you are.
And so therefore we're going to give you something that will make you feel good enough. But
Mhm.
I effing hate that, Will. It's
Yeah.
like everybody is already good enough. I don't care. I don't care how many pounds overweight you may be,
Yeah.
or what kind of injuries you're coming off of, or mental health issues you're overcoming, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I'm completely
Against that.
against
I've
that.
struggled with that myself, that
Oh,
notion of it, I'm not enough, that kind of thing. That's even something I've struggled with. So I
well, sure. And these
definitely,
ads,
it's
that's what they
toxic.
capitalize. It's so toxic, and it creates a
Yeah.
culture of scarcity and a culture of
Mhm.
competition where we don't really care about each other and lift each other up. And I freaking hate that.
Yeah. All right. Hey, no. Hey, you know what? If that's your version of being negative, that was a really good answer, and it
Thank
wasn't
you.
that bad. So good answer. Okay. Well, how about this one? This is, I don't think the rest of these are negative. So, what piece of equipment do you wish you had that you don't have?
Wow. That is an excellent question. And I've been so lucky to
You got a lot of cool
have,
stuff.
right? So I guess the piece of equipment that I will have as soon as I get my new location, so it's already like, well, there's two things that are coming that both of them I'm excited about. One, hyperbaric,
Cool.
having hyperbaric tanks.
Ooh.
There's limits in New York as to, if you're not a medical practitioner, you can only have the soft, so you can't have the higher, pressurized ones. But I think hyperbaric is absolutely, amazing for longevity and wellness. And then the Vasper is the other thing that I am really
Oh
excited about
yeah.
having, which you can combine with exercise, with oxygen therapy, EWAT, like a Livo 2. But those are two pieces of equipment I really am a fan
Great
of, and
answer.
I look forward to having.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've done Vasper before. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I like Vasper. I mean, it is cool because it makes you
Yeah.
cold. For those
Yeah.
people who don't know, it uses
You caught that pun.
cold temperatures, cold temperatures and blood flow restriction
Yeah.
to basically, basically make it harder for the body to adapt and get the
Yeah.
performance. So it's harder for you
Yeah.
to maintain a certain level of output. And it's really good for the adaptive response of the body.
Love it. Love it. Well, all right. How about this one?
Sure.
What are your top 5 favorite exercises? Let's start with Proteus, and then maybe you give me your non-Proteus favorite.
Okay. Well, my favorite Proteus exercise is like the snatch slam.
Oh yeah,
So you
love it.
snatch it
Yep.
up and you slam it down.
Slam it down. Yeah. Full body.
Full body. I freaking love that. I love the chop. So
Okay. Yeah.
the chop, you just right and
Yep.
left chop, like you're just,
That's
you're just gonna kill it. So you guys it's not my favorite on the Proteus, right? Because like I feel like the Proteus really shines with any kind of torso, flexion and like the full body of the snatch slam kind of thing. But you can do a lot of the lunges in all different planes of motion.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I'm a huge lunge person. Like I used to hate lunges, and part of my journey of getting back into shape, like around the world lunges, lateral, diagonal, back, forward, like just
Love it.
lunge all over the world. And so you can do that with the Proteus. You can hold on the weight. So we got lunges, we got the snatch slam,
2 more.
we got the chop. So I'm a yogi as well.
Okay.
So, let's just do a sun salutation and, upward, downward, just and then the twists.
Yeah.
So I could do like a lizard lunge into like an open twist.
Nice.
Lunge, open twist.
It's kind of like, what if some people call that like the lay person, or, non-yoga person might call it like the world's greatest stretch. That's kind of like a similar move. It's like a deep lunge with a big twist,
Yeah.
something like that. Okay.
And bonus, I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Linehan and the Human Garage guys.
No.
Now they're based in Vancouver, but they have a series of fascial maneuvers, which I've been trained in, that those as a bonus, like favorite exercise, those fascial maneuvers can change your life. So plant that
Whoa.
seed for you too.
I'm gonna have to check that out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not aware of those. So
Yeah.
you got me on something. That's one of the first things you said today. I've never heard of. So that's cool.
Ooh, cool.
Okay. So how about this one? Who is your favorite athlete of all time and why?
So I think my favorite athlete of all time is Gabrielle Reese.
Ooh, Gabby Reese. Love it.
Yeah, so I was a volleyball player as a kid,
Okay.
and she just always inspired me, like as an athlete. And then how she has continued to be a leader,
Yep.
physically, mentally, energetically, her family, the work that, her and Laird have done, the
Yeah.
breath work and the cold. And so I'm going to go with Gabby Reese.
I love it. I'm actually talking to someone in their organization later today, actually. So, yeah.
Coincidence? I think not.
This is
I
great.
think
Yeah.
not.
Perfect. Yeah. We have a couple of ties to some of the projects they're working on. So that's really
I
cool.
have a lot of respect for the full kind of
Yeah.
lifespan, all the different kind of areas of life that she's.
Yeah.
I think she's
She
awesome.
and Laird Hamilton have some cool stuff. And
Yeah.
well, actually, I'll skip my second to last question and bring this next one in. And then I'll come back to that one. What are your favorite podcasts to listen to?
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. And the only reason I bring that up is because I don't know if you know, but Gabby Reese has a pretty cool podcast.
She does. She does. So, I mean, I love Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with Tim Ferriss.
He almost feels like the Godfather, not the Godfather, but he kind of popularized biohacking.
I mean, it's like the whole minimum effective dose of all. And he asks great questions, and he has great guests on, like a really wide array of topics and wisdom. Like I just love wisdom.
Yeah.
Because like wisdom gets results. That's the whole thing. It's like, if it's wise, it then gets results, and we want results, right? So it's all about wisdom. I love Brene Brown.
Oh yeah, great.
Do you know who Brene Brown is? I mean, she's a gift to humanity. Like she's just an absolute gift to humanity. I mean, Oprah Soul Session. I'm super soul-y. Like I'm all about like heart and, inspiration and all that stuff. So
I love it.
I love me Oprah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, so I usually ask that one last, but I wanted to bring that in case Gabby Reese was one of the answers.
Well, it's funny. I haven't listened to her podcast, but I should, because I'm sure I would love it.
It's good. Yeah. I've listened to a couple episodes and they're real solid. And like you said, she and Laird Hamilton do some really cool work, and I think they remind me of you in that they go very holistic, right? It's not just like
it's
about
definitely mind, body, energetic. I mean,
totally.
From like a biohacking standpoint, I mean, I'm sure Andrew Huberman's work.
Oh yeah.
His podcast is amazing.
He's my number one.
I need like the cliff notes. Like I have friends that like give me the cliff notes, because I'm like, I don't know, 2.5 hours.
Yeah. It's pretty factual. Yeah, a lot.
He's amazing. He's a gift. And Dr. Gabrielle Lyons has a podcast now too, that she's badass.
I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then here's the last one.
Okay.
Give advice to young Pamela Gold entering into the fitness industry, or just, it doesn't even have to be when you were entering into the fitness industry. What advice would you give to the younger you starting out?
It's going to be okay. First and foremost, it's going to be okay. Even when it doesn't feel like it, it's going to be okay. You're doing great. Just keep going. Slow the F down.
I like that. Slow and steady.
Slow down. Breathe. Little Pam did not know any of that. And bull in China shop.
Yeah.
Just breathe more and breathe some more. Yeah.
I love it. Well, okay. So I think this is a good point for us to to end, but where can people find out about you? How do they follow you? How do they come see you? Tell us how to reach out to you.
Sure. So Portal, PRTL, the 4 letters, portal.com. We have 2 locations in New York City. Hopefully soon we'll have 1 nice, big, not our post-COVID comeback story locations, but real location. So
Got it.
super excited about that. PamelaGold.com. You can connect with some of my other work, parenting programs and other books and things. But yeah, super easy.
Great. Well, Pam, thanks so much for being on the podcast. I always enjoy talking to you. And I got to say, this is one of my favorite conversations I've had. So thank you so much. And we will all be following what you're doing, and I will see you soon.
Thanks again.
Take care.